All right, and welcome back to Recruited Talkback. So we're discussing episode 4 today. We have Ray Mercury, our director and co-producer. We have Mehrdad Sarlak, who played Lambert, our actor. Myself, Carolyn Carpenter, who wrote the script, co-produced, and acts in the show as well. And Heath Null with the United States Marine Corps, also my husband, and whose experience as a Marine Corps recruiter helped inspire the show. So you just watched episode 4, which showed a bit of what it's like for the recruiters to have to go out there and speak in front of all these classrooms. I think the public speaking aspect of it, where you have to go in and do classroom talks, is a big part of the recruiting experience. Heath, what was that like for you? Were you good at public speaking?
Oh no, I had a horrendous fear of public speaking.
Well, here's the thing, and not to interrupt you, but that's like one of the biggest fears.
That is number one. It's higher than death for Americans.
Isn't it?
Really?
Yes,
Yeah,
it-
public speaking
Public
is
speaking.
number one. Death is number two. That's not a joke.
Oh
yeah,
my
it
gosh.
really is. I use that in a lot of my public speaking out there on recruiting. I would always preface, "Hey, what's the number one public fear?"
Yeah.
Or it's public speaking.
Yeah.
So if I mess up, bear with me here.
Right.
I would touch in on that. So I'm like, but as I also used it as one of my recruiting tools. As a Marine, they teach you to face your fears and overcome them, not just cower down from them.
Even if your shirt is drenched in sweat.
Yes.
Which yours actually was, that
Yes.
costume choice
Which-
was based on reality.
Is correct, which is funny because being in the recruiter, seeing this, I also got to learn some of the filming side because like all the Marine recruiters out there, it's like he would never do a class talk in his uniform like that. It'd be his dress blues. Yes, you're right, but for the film side, since it's dark, they couldn't see the sweat. So the film side said, "Oh, let's use this so it could stand out better." So that's something I learned in it, which is good. It was interesting. But when I was at my first class talk in recruiter school, I did sweat through my uniform like that. It was really bad.
You're an actor.
I believe it. Yeah, I don't really sweat, so
I glisten.
I just call it shine.
Now, Mehrdad, you're an actor, but public speaking and acting, are those two different things?
You know, it's interesting. So you guys know I hosted a television show for like 7-8 years. So for me, that comes really naturally. But one of the things that I saw, because I had a lot of celebrities or actors or celebrities, whoever would be on my show, it was amazing to me that if you didn't have a script in front of them, how nervous they were.
Yep.
And they would start sweating and they would start, some of them would start hyperventilating because it was live. So I think I would say for 99% of people, actors, it is totally different because actors, they want to be someone else.
Yeah.
They want to be another character, tell me who to be, tell me how to be, direct me.
Yep.
Whereas public speaking, you're being you and you're having to sort of sell an idea. So they couldn't, I don't think, be more different.
I have to agree with you. I'm okay if I'm speaking in front of a group of people, like the presentation Benson had to give. But being interviewed one-on-one, it makes me very stiff, very nervous. I did Toastmasters, not to learn the public, the presentation part of it, because I had that pretty well as long as I had my cue cards and wrote my script in advance. But for interviewing, because when I was on red carpets, people would shove a mic and a camera in
And
my
you're like-
face and ask me something, and it was this constant deer in the headlights look before I could give any type of response. So it is an acquired skill. I don't think it comes easy for everybody.
My joke is actors go into acting because they don't like to be themselves. They want to be someone else. Don't make me be me. That's why I'm an actor. I'll be someone else.
Now, what struck you about the episode, Mehrdad?
You know what I loved about it was we always get these, I have no familiarity with the military other than getting to work with you guys, and I've never been a recruiter, never been in the military, but I learned a ton through Heath and your script and the story. I love the fact that you guys humanize these people, right? Because I think a lot of the public gets a very Full Metal Jacket kind of stereotypical cliche view of the military, like everybody's really, sergeant, drill sergeant, and I love the beginning scene because here's a person, yes, he's been in the military and he's been trained to go to war, right? Let's be real. But at the end of the day, he's a human being and I love the humanization of him where he's just struggling with, first of all, I shouldn't have to sell the Marine Corps. This is a 200-year plus institution, it sells itself, but also just, I don't know how to do this. This isn't what I do. And seeing that, this is a guy who's face down people, shooting at him, but like his fear is going and talking to high school students, and it humanizes him. So I love that. And I think you did that nicely throughout the episode. I thought this episode has a slightly different tone from the other ones.
Yes.
But what I love about it is that it's it's reality.
I want to talk, Rain, about that opening scene. So when I wrote the script, just so that the audience is aware, I didn't write the script to be shot the way that it ended up being shot. That was actually a decision that Rain and our director of photography, Mario Ortiz, made when they were doing their pre-production meetings and going over the script. You can talk more about it. I don't know who made the decision, but somewhere along the line, someone said, let's shoot this very much in the style of Parks and Rec.
Yes.
And Parks and Rec ended up being the stylistic inspiration for the show.
The
And-
Office, Parks
Yes.
and Rec.
Yeah.
Actually,
So-
it was actually both of those, and in a way it was, we had, so I sat down with Mario, and Mario and I really kind of went over, and and he had asked me, well, what are you visualizing, and as a videographer myself, I actually learned a lot from him throughout the years with Mario, and him kind of mentoring me. And one of the things I learned is that if I'm the one holding the camera, I'm always going to want to know, well, what's the motif? What's the look? What are you trying to do? What do you want to visually convey across the lens to your audience? And one of the things I wanted to do was, I wanted to have a number of takes where the lens in the fourth wall was not being broken. And that was something that we'll talk about later on, is this wall that I kept talking about. But I really wanted to kind of see what it would be like without breaking that wall, and where it would be like where we kind of introduce sort of the Parks and Recs, kind of sort of a free-for-all.
Explain for non-actors what the fourth wall is.
So the fourth wall is where you sort of introduce your audience, which is the lens. It's everybody watching you, and when my eyes connect to the lens, I'm now actually breaking the fourth wall, which means it's like I'm communicating to you through the lens, very much like what we're doing right now. I'm talking to the audience. So
You're acknowledging
I'm
that you're
acknowledging
being
the
filmed,
lens.
right?
Thank you. Yes, I can get that word. I'm acknowledging that the cameras are in the room. And so what we decided to do was actually incorporate the crew into the room as if they're being followed around. And that was really kind of a last minute idea change, because I felt like there needed to be a little bit of something so that the actors could actually play off of as well. It was like basically the one actor that didn't exist in the room, the physical body that wasn't there. And it really worked really, really well. And I
Well,
felt
also
like,
gives it a docu style.
yes, it very
gives
much,
you a very-
that. Yeah, absolutely.
So interesting side bit for the audience. I knew that they had come up with this decision, but because the script wasn't written with that decision in mind, I had one picture in my head of how the show was going to look. And it kept being really, it agitated the heck out of me on the set, because they kept being like, oh, no, we're going to do this, and now we're going to do
That's
this.
not what I
That's not
wrote.
what I wrote. And I'm like, all right, I
And
don't
I-
understand why we're doing this, but I'll roll with it.
And I kept telling Caroline, I said, listen, we have an idea. Mario and I have kind of worked up this concept. Just go with it. Don't worry about it. You just focus on your acting, and I'll handle the rest. And she was very like, what are you doing? But now that we see it.
Well, yeah, and that was exactly. I actually, before we watched this episode for the talkback, I had seen it twice already, and I never understood why there's this joke about the guy being in the closet.
Yeah.
And then, like,
Right.
are they going to be here the whole time? I'm like, I don't like that. I didn't write it that way. Why are they calling out the camera people?
R. Kelly.
It didn't dawn on me until watching it today that you had to have the actors say that,
Right.
because otherwise it would make no
Right.
sense how the rest
Right.
of this is a mockumentary.
Right.
Correct.
But all of a sudden we have footage of them in a bedroom.
Yes.
It
Right.
wouldn't have translated, because it's like, well, how did they know unless they were there? And it was interesting to watch the tape, be like, oh, that's why they're making this joke about the guy in the closet about the camera crew, because we have to understand that the camera crew was there. So,
But there are two places before that I saw that acknowledge that as well. One is when his girlfriend wakes up, she connects with the camera. For a split second, she looks at the camera, which as an actor, you're never allowed to do that, because
Right.
you're not acting, you're being, right? So there is, in an acting scene, there is no camera. But she looks over, and it's just for a split second. I thought that was brilliant. And then she actually makes the comment at the very beginning of the episode, like, are they going to be with us all the time? So that's acknowledged at the, you guys bookended it really
Yes.
nicely, where it's acknowledged at the beginning of the episode, and then, the fun joke at the end was like, you're in the closet, R. Kelly, you damn peeping Tom. So that was nice.
And I have to say that all the actors, everybody did a really great job when I would allow for everyone to do 2, 3, maybe even 5 or 6 takes.
I was just going to say that.
And then I would say, okay, now let's break
Let's
that
play.
fourth wall. Let's have a little more fun now, and I
Mm-hmm.
want you to play to the cameras now. I want
Right.
you to play to that other person that's not really in the room. It's the
Mm-hmm.
audience, right? And that really kind of opened up everybody's sort of excitement, actually. I think everybody kind of got a little excited.
You improvise a little bit.
Exactly, and so that for me made it much more playful,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it, as you see with the bloopers, I think everybody had a really good time.
Well, and Rain, people don't realize just the hell that goes into editing, where you guys have, you had multiple cameras shooting,
Yes.
multiple angles, and you watching a 10-minute episode, but it's like you're going through hours and hours of footage. So that gave you even more things to pick from,
Yeah.
which then enabled you to pick and edit in the best manner possible.
Yes,
But it makes your life a lot harder, but it also allows you to have a better product at the end. So.
Yeah, it's always best to have more than not enough,
Mm-hmm.
and we definitely had more. So.
Well, thank you all for watching this episode of Recruited Talkbacks. If you have any questions you'd like to ask us, please include them in the comments below. And stay tuned. Episode 5 will go up in a little while. All right. Thank you all.